welcome to episode 20 of Oscar Sunday. I'm Austin Johnson.
I'm Connor Eyzaguirre.
And this past July, Back to the Future reached its 35th anniversary. Oh boy. And at the 58th Academy Awards, it was up for 4 nominations, taking home 1 win. That's Best Sound Effects. Connor, I think if it were up to you, it would have been up for what, 10? 15?
Yeah, this would have dominated the Oscars in 86 because this is, in case you've been living under a rock, listener, my all-time favorite movie ever, bar none.
Yeah, and that's fantastic. You know, I knew all along when this show started that when we got to this year, it was a no-brainer. We got to choose Back to the Future, this brilliant piece of American cinema that, really, when I say that, the way it pops, the way it moves, the tempo of it is so entertaining and so watchable, so rewatchable. And I had the pleasure of, watching it just for the second time my entire life, yesterday. If you're listening to this 2 days ago. And man, I was obviously thinking about you the whole time and how this is a movie that's been with you since you were kind of born. And so I want to open up that door a little bit. This movie, if you don't know anything about it, come on, you're right. This is one of the biggest movies in American history. Back to the Future, 1985, made $250 million. Come on, this is a big deal. It was the top number 1 box office in sales that year, and ahead of Rambo 2. And at the 58th Academy Awards, picked up 4 nominations and a win. And therefore, it makes the cut for this show. Certainly could be on Filmgazm, but we want to take this movie really seriously because that's what it deserves. And I felt that putting it through this lens gives even you an opportunity to watch it in a different way. Yep. Which is so special because you've seen it how many times?
Over 200 at least. I've been watching this movie my entire life. I honestly don't know. I could quote the script by memory. It's just one of those pieces. It feels like a piece of me at this point. And, man, where do I even start?
Well, you start with, when do you remember this becoming what it is, your favorite movie? Because that's so difficult, right? Obviously, your top 5s and your top 10s change. But your favorite, and you're saying bar none, it's been there. How long have you known that? When did it become that? And how have you known for sure for so long that that's it?
Well, I'll answer that by saying this. My earliest memory of my life is, I'm pretty sure it was my 3rd or 4th birthday. I got Back to the Future Part 2 on tape. And it blew my mind that there was a sequel to this and a sequel to that. And I had 3 of these amazing films to watch. Mm-hmm. So I think from there, it was my favorite movie. When I realized I had a franchise on my hands here, and I could just throw myself into this amazing world of time travel and adventure. And it's such an optimistic movie. It really is about fixing overcoming your difficulties, embracing your confidence, learning, discovering who you are on a grand scale. And I think that's relatable to a lot of people. I think that's why a lot of people come to this. Because, at first, when we first meet Marty, he's an insecure kid who's, struggling with his desire to do music, but doesn't believe he's good enough to do it. His parents are flawed. His brother and sister are in dead-end jobs. And he has kind of a shitty life. But through this adventure, he learns who his parents were and who they can be. He learns how to embrace his confidence and really become his own person after this incredible life-changing adventure.
Yeah. Oh, man. It's so amazing because as time goes on, and these timeless characters, Rick and Morty.
Yeah.
Come on. As time goes on and moves along. And you point out the optimistic thing. I think you really nailed something there because the way I interpreted it when I was watching it was not only to look inward and try to be the best you can be. But what I took from it most that I loved, the message is fucking participate in life. Buy the ticket, take the ride. Don't be afraid to make decisions. Don't be afraid to fucking do something. And Marty does that continuously. That's the whole thing, right? Is especially with this first one, and we're going to save those other 2. We're going to do those, the 1989 and 1990 part 2 and 3. And we're really going to be honing in on this film and talking about the 58th Academy Awards, which there's all kinds of shit going on there. and we're going to have our own awards, right? Which is going to be so difficult for you, Connor, because you have to pin down just a few scenes.
Yeah, it's going to be tough to really narrow down what I really, really love about this movie.
Yeah.
But I think I've done my best.
Yeah, and I do think that that optimism, that feel good, I don't want people to take that the wrong way or to think that it's just an 80s feel good movie. Because that's not how I interpret it. It is that, and it moves like movie magic. It's like that. It is that term. It's just so Hollywood, so it just moves. Like, man, that's how American cinema, Steven Spielberg, Robert Zemeckis, these guys, George Lucas, they just knew what they were doing at that time. They just knew how to take care of the set and take us on a fucking ride. And that's such a beautiful part of like the 70s and 80s, is that adventure aspect of it. You talked about all three of them. That's basically 6 hours of you being able to escape your entire life into this place, like you said, to time travel and laugh and cry and all these different things, these different emotions that really is what you go to cinema for. It kind of does all those things.
It really does. I mean, the first one you had brought up that it inspired you to kind of, want to take charge of life.
Yeah, participate.
Yeah. And 2 and 3 really kind of hammer those home because there's a line at the end of the third movie that I've been thinking about. It's after all their adventures are done, Doc has built his new time machine and is going to go, forth with his wife and kids and just kind of have their own adventures. And Marty's girlfriend, Jennifer, asks him about a letter she had from the future that's now erased because of their actions.
Yeah.
And she says, it was erased. What does that mean? And he says, it means that nobody's future is written. You make your own future. And what you should try to do is make it a good one. And I've always taken that to heart.
Yeah.
And like this movie has taught me more about life than anything else. These movies.
To just to grab take it by the balls, like be serious, do something, participate,
enjoy it.
Yeah, but it always takes me back to the Hunter S. Thompson, buy the ticket, take the ride, that whole philosophy of just get on board, man. Like get on board and do it. And that certainly has influenced so much of what's followed in film. That aspect, that optimism, that tenacity, and how it just follows so much with popular cinema. This movie's at 35 years old. It's still just kicking like it's brand new, and that there's something to say about that. I do want to bring up some fundamentals of the movie before we keep praising it.
Okay.
Obviously, this is your favorite film.
Yeah.
And you come to it, right? You had to watch Magnolia. It's 3 hours. Magnolia is my favorite movie ever, so you had to do that. And that's not easy. And it's also not an easy movie to, just throw on a Tuesday, right? It's a heavy one. And I always appreciate when someone watches that movie because I'm like, oh, what did you think? How did you interpret it? What do you think it's about? Which character did you like? Or did you not like any of them? Sometimes that's the answer, but when someone does that, you feel the same way when you're doing it, right? When you're watching it, and it's in reverse. And when I'm watching it, I'm thinking about how this has been your favorite movie for so long, and how, of course, when you watch it over and over, there's going to be times where you're like, oh, but is there with this movie? Is there anything to you? To me, it moves incredibly well. The music is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
The performances are pretty kick-ass. The message obviously is amazing. But there's that thing in the plot with the mom and the son. What do you think about it? As time has gone on, and you can take as much time as you need to because it's weird, but it's also, to me, it's not something that should hold anybody back from really diving into these films.
I think the way that Zemeckis and Gale wrote it is very smart. I think they could have made this, Revenge of the Nerds style nasty, but they didn't. They made it, smart and kind of, weirdly cute.
Yeah.
I mean, on a first watch, it is a tough one to sell, admittedly. Kid goes back in time and his mom falls in love with him. Mm-hmm. Weird, very fucked up. Thankfully nothing happened. In the original, there's an unfortunate deleted scene of this movie that I'm so glad they cut out because it would not have made this film age well. Yeah. It's when Marty is trying to come to terms with what he has to do to Lorraine in order to get her to attack him so that George can come in and be the hero.
Yes.
He's got to feel her up. And he tells Doc, quote, "What if I do this and in the future I turn gay?"
Whoa.
That's
a deleted scene?
That's a deleted scene where Marty is concerned he's going to end up gay if he does this.
Shout out to whoever deleted that one.
Thank God, because this film would have that one just glaringly bad bit. And
that must have been, you think that's Spielberg just like, hey, guys, I have a movie called The Color Purple coming out. You fucking morons, I can't be doing this. That's contradicting. I can't be doing this shit. Producing this movie and then directing this one? Come on, guys.
It might have been that. It honestly might have just been cut for time.
That's probably the more realistic one, which is sad.
This was the 80s.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Shit was flying. I mean, talk about, one of my favorite things about this movie is the use of the word shit. And I think it does it really well for a PG movie, and you look back at the 70s and 80s and how lenient they are on stuff. And the Indiana Jones movies sometimes take it. You're like, whoa, this is what? And this one did it a couple times. You're like, oh my God. Sometimes the use of shit, it's my favorite curse word. So I had a blast with that. And Marty's very good at using that word.
He is, yeah. I'm so glad Michael J. Fox was able to make his schedule work because they had gone with Eric Stoltz.
Yeah, dude. Watching it now, oh no.
Well, they filmed a good chunk with Eric Stoltz, and I've seen those clips. He is terrible.
Yeah.
He brings no just, witty charm, no innocence to the role. He's just too serious. And they couldn't get Michael J. Fox because he was very busy with Family Ties at the time.
Oh yeah.
And thankfully the producers of Family Ties were able to work something out so that Fox could do Back to the Future during the day, Family Ties at night, or vice versa. And Eric Stoltz was given the boot. They're like, dude, look, you're great, but you're not working. They kicked his ass off the
This
set.
isn't gonna fly. Well, and and it doesn't become what it is. It doesn't make over $200 million.
No.
It doesn't become this icon. It doesn't get up for Oscars. It doesn't become your favorite movie. Michael J. Fox certainly is what makes the wheel turn, and especially at the beginning of the film. And then when you realize, this is something that kind of shocked me, was how many gaps there are with no Christopher Lloyd. How many gaps in the first one there are where you really are relying on J. Fox, and certainly that actor has to be above par.
Yeah.
And he is. And I asked you, I was like, how old do you think he was? And he's like you were like, 19 or 20. He was in his mid-20s when this movie came out, and he pulls off a 17-year-old. Like, he does it. He actually does it.
Yeah, I never questioned it once.
Movie magic. Hollywood. Hollywood. Love it. I agree with you. I think first watch, especially if you're not totally paying attention, that can throw you off. The plot line of the mom being attracted,
the very near incest,
for sure.
Yeah,
for sure. I can see how someone might be like, oh man, what's this about, or what's going on here? But I didn't. I was like, no, and I remembered. I was like, no, it doesn't really. It's obviously a part of the plot, and it's so interesting because he has to turn her on to his future dad, right? And that's the whole thing. It's like a fucking Family Guy episode. and that's the whole thing. And for that to work, and it kind of does make sense in my head that any girl in that town would be attracted to a guy like that. Like, right? I mean, look at him. He's like, look at the Nikes he's wearing.
Well, I love the way they do it. Not...
at first he's wearing different clothes, but there is a time where it's like he's wearing that vest, and you're like, look at this guy.
Yeah, look at the life preserver.
Yeah, that was funny.
Yeah, Dork thinks he's gonna drown, like a little bit. But
Dork thinks he's gonna drown.
The way they did it was, Lorraine doesn't just fall in love with Marty because he's hot. She falls in love with him because it's exactly the same way she fell in love with George. Her dad hit him with the car. She nurses him back to health, and it's a Florence Nightingale thing.
Yes.
So it doesn't make Lorraine a crazy slut. It just makes Marty inconvenient. Like I said, the way Zemeckis and Gale did this was really smart.
And again, from her perspective, how the fuck is she supposed to know this guy traveled 30 years back in time?
Although she does have that realization moment where she kisses him. She's like, I don't know what's up, but something is wrong.
Yeah, that like, do I know you from a different life? And you're like, oh shit.
Yeah.
And then it's like a Lost episode. Yeah.
I think the real question is, how did George react when one day he and Lorraine had a kid who looked exactly like the weird teenager that Lorraine was in love with when they were in high school?
You're like, That's very interesting.
And if they love the name Marty, why did they wait till their third kid to use it?
They were sure. They were sure about having more.
I always wonder if Marty one day sat his parents down and explained this whole adventure to them.
Yeah, kind of like again, I'll like shout out to Rick and Morty when Morty's like, "I had to bury myself out there. That's me. You see that? That's me." Yeah, explaining. Yeah, like Doc gets shot.
Yeah.
Gets shot by terrorists.
Oh yeah.
It's a horror movie for a second. It's like an Indiana Jones movie. Actually, it's more like an action, like thriller. Like, whoa, what the fuck?
It does come out of nowhere,
and it's awesome. And that this movie does that, where it's kind of fucking with genres, coming of age, doing a little bit of the sci-fi, doing a little bit of action, doing a little bit of comedy. It's an American grab bag, and really essential if you want to understand. If you want to understand the past 5 decades of American cinema, this movie is essential.
Well, and also, how crazy is it that our introduction to Doc is as a fucking plutonium thief who ripped off terrorists?
I mean, I love the intro of all this stuff.
The clocks.
Yeah. That part is amazing and very like, oh, this is quirky and weird.
This is a movie
and made all this money. Fuck yeah!
This is a movie that has so many bizarre, unfilmable elements, but it comes together in this perfect, like tapestry of brilliance that works every time. I don't know how it works, but it does, and it speaks to Robert Zemeckis. I think as a filmmaker, he is so good at making these unique, weird tales. And Back to the Future is the movie that finally put him on the map because he had done Used Cars. Romancing the Stone. That's the film that finally got Back to the Future sold. Nobody believed in this. They'd been trying to sell this for years.
Yeah.
And then Romancing the Stone was a hit, and Spielberg took a chance on these guys.
Yeah, which, we've talked a bit about him on this show and, of course, on Filmgazm. Spielberg's hand throughout the 70s and 80s might just be the most important hand in American movies.
Oh, yeah.
Period. I actually don't know if there's much of an argument. For those decades, he's uber important in his guidance of other people, giving other people opportunities, buying fucking statues and donating them to museums, and then making amazing movies himself. The guy's a hero. He really is a hero. And when you see his name, it really is genius with the clocks, and you see his name, Steven Spielberg presents a Robert Zemeckis film. It's like you get chills. I get chills, and this movie's not even a movie I've seen that many times. I've seen it twice, but it has that effect. And it has that like, oh man, I'm watching a classic. You can feel it. You can feel it again. I think you feel it the same way you feel Indiana Jones. There's something there. That's like the Hollywood sparkle. It's like that little sprinkle of whatever dust they put on some of their shit, and it just works. And I think it's Spielberg and Zemeckis. I think that's that dust.
Oh yeah, they're the dust. Spielberg had his, not just the films he directed, but the films he produced, the films that were allowed to be made because he saw potential in them. Films like The Goonies.
Yeah, exactly. Poltergeist, right?
Yeah.
We have interesting thoughts about that one, but right, like he obviously had a hand in it, in one way or another.
Yeah, it's amazing. I think he is the single most important film icon of the 80s and the 70s, and I think the 90s too.
Yeah, an argument could be made that it keeps going, and we're not stupid. Very much. We were saying American. We very much understand what Hitchcock has done for the landscape of all genres.
Yeah.
Before and for British film. But as far as more contemporary, and especially for the more modern Oscars, right, and sci-fi and genre films getting in, Spielberg is that guy.
100%.
He is that guy who can get you there.
Yeah, and I'm glad that Zemeckis had that meeting with him. Otherwise, we wouldn't have gotten films like Who Framed Roger Rabbit and Death Becomes Her, Castaway, The Polar Express. Like, this guy is so good. I fucking love Zemeckis. He's in my top 5 favorite directors.
Yeah. Oh boy, that's a list. That'd be a cool episode.
It would. It would be a cool episode.
That's so difficult, and it's like making your top 5 movie. It's like, well, it changes all the time. I can't really pin it down. But you can pin down that very, very favorite, and for you, it's definitely this movie. And I do want to talk about, again, we're going to praise this movie a bunch today. and we're gonna have our awards, and we'll bring those up soon. But I do want to talk about the 58th Academy Awards a bit and go through its actual nominations, which is 4 and the one win. I almost watched this entire award show, and I don't know if I would recommend people watch it. You can if you want to like fact check me, go for it. Jane Fonda, Alan Alda, and Robin Williams are hosting it. It's in 1986 in Los Angeles, talking about the films in 1985, and the opening is Alan Alda and Jane Fonda at center stage, and Alan Alda is saying, I don't even know how to go about this, to be honest. He's saying stuff like, let's welcome the Philippine audience. And then it goes to Robin Williams, and he says something like, thank you, come again. And
My God.
then he goes to the next one, and the next one, and the next one, and French, and and Robin Williams is making noises, and people are laughing. Alan Alda's got this shit-eating grin, and Jane Fonda's just kind of standing there. And I was fucking disgusted, Obviously, does not age well. And it's something I felt like should be brought up. Because throughout this show, I don't know their names. I should have written them down. The gentleman who actually won an award for Back to the Future, they get on stage and they're professional as fuck. And they accept their award. And honestly, you might just want to look it up if you're an Oscar fan, just for shits and giggles. It's a shit show. It's a disaster. And you compare it to like what happens today and how people complain about what happens today. You're like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, don't even go back and watch some of those 70s and 80s and 90s ones, and you'll see some shit. And this one certainly. And I'm not gonna be afraid to call out my heroes. And Robin Williams is one of my heroes when it comes to movies. And I know he's one of yours, Connor.
Yeah.
But this disgusted me. Like, it made me kind of sick when I heard him doing these interpretations of these different people, clearly making fun of massive communities that have a significant role in movies around the world. And that pissed me off. It pissed me off, but I kept watching. I was like, I want to keep going. I want to see how it kind of works. I do that occasionally. I don't do it every week for this show, but occasionally I'll look on YouTube, and this one had it in 28 parts. Oh. So I just kind of threw it on, and I was reading, but I got kind of warped in because I was like, this is so messed up, And I had to bring it up. I thought it would be foolish to just kind of let things slide. I think that's why we have so many issues. People let too many things slide, and that's just not going to slide on this show, right? We haven't let things slide before on Filmgazm or Oscar Sunday, and why start now? Love Robin Williams to death. We did a whole episode here on Oscar Sunday about Dead Poet Society, but that doesn't fly. That doesn't age well. Doesn't look cool. Should have been able to see at the time that this is not cool either. So that sucks. But I will say, for your favorite movie, Back to the Future, those two gentlemen were lovely. And they accepted their award and just kind of said, this is amazing, thank you so much, and just got off the stage. Well, the rest of it was kind of a shit show.
Well, I mean, this was a time where Robin Williams built his whole shtick on weird ethnic voices. Yes. So I can see why he would just kind of default to that. Yeah. But yeah, it's fucked up. And I'm glad that we are able to see it now, like, still today, so we can learn from it. Yeah. Like, don't do that shit again. Yeah. But honestly, I'm not surprised.
No, I wasn't. I wasn't too much either. Again, I've watched some of these videos and I've seen, and I'm in the boat of with like stand-up comedy. If someone's saying something offensive to you, well, then leave the show or turn it off or whatever. Don't go to the comedy show. That kind of attitude. But here is like, this is the Oscars. Like, yeah, let's have a little bit of class. Like, yeah. I love comedy. I love laughing. But let's be like a little respectful, especially like when the best foreign language film is like a new category. Let's fucking calm down,
Oof. Thankfully,
this is Oscar Sunday, but we are not gonna be afraid to bash the Academy.
Yeah, but I'm glad Back to the Future, is not that tied to that Oscars.
Yeah, no, they were represented really well.
Yeah, thank God.
As I almost watched the entire 2.5 hour fucking show. Yeah.
Well, we decided, because Back to the Future was up for 4 awards.
Yes.
Its biggest nomination being for screenplay, we decided to...
biggest, and we do this, but it's clear in this case.
Yes.
When we say biggest, obviously Best Picture is biggest, and so on and so forth. Meaning the rest of them are technical.
Yes. But we decided...
That's not to say that they're not important. That's what I mean?
Of course not.
I mean, we fucking chose Fight Club, which had one technical nomination. We care. We care about these movies.
True, but anybody who knows about the Oscars knows the hierarchy.
Yes, exactly.
Picture, actors, director, screenplay, everything else.
And then if you're like us, what about cinematography?
That's right under screenplay.
Yeah.
But we disavowed Best Picture this year. We decided to focus mainly on the 5 films up for screenplay.
Yes.
So you will not hear us talk about Out of Africa, The Color Purple, Kiss of the Spider Woman, Prizzi's Honor. You will hear us talk about Witness, though, because that was up for screenplay.
Yes.
But next time we come to the 1985 Oscars, we will probably talk about one of these 5 films.
For sure. And it's going to be difficult to choose. Watching Witness, not too huge on it, so I'm not going to choose that. But
I think we'd have fun with Prizzi's Honor.
Angelica Houston is stellar, and I would love to see that one.
And if we want to get really sad and guilty, we could do The Color Purple. Kiss of the Spider Woman, I've heard, is bizarre, but William Hurt is amazing. So honestly, any of these, I don't want to do Out of Africa because I've heard that's like the worst movie to ever win Best Picture.
It's all right. Yeah, it's not very good. I mean, the performances are fine because you got a couple of just goats out there. But as a movie, it's all right. It's not as bad as Driving Miss Daisy, I don't think.
Okay, well, that's not saying much.
It's close. Yeah, it's in that bottom tier.
Damn. Well, do you want to get into the awards that Back to the Future was up for?
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah.
All right, let's start with Best Original Song.
Oh boy.
So we have Surprise, Surprise from A Chorus Line, Separate Lives from White Knights, The Power of Love from Back to the Future,
Ding, ding, ding.
Miss Sally's Blues from The Color Purple, and the winner, Say You, Say Me from White Knights. I have not seen these other 4 films, but you know where I stand on this.
Yeah, I don't have much to say about these either. The Color Purple, I'm not huge into it. I don't think it's I don't think it's not aged well or something. But as far as entertainment goes, that's those kinds of stories have been told, I think, stronger.
Okay.
I'm not trying to say that's a bad movie. I really am not. I just praised Spielberg for a good while, and I do think it's good. But I don't know, man. When you're talking about Best Picture nominations, I just don't know if that one or Out of Africa belong.
Very interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah, Power of Love. Come on.
The Power of Love is still played on the radio all the time. It's in karaoke bars. It's
There's people who haven't seen the movie who just know every word to this song.
And I would have also accepted a nomination for Back in Time, the closing song at the end of this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what should have happened.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully we can see those other films in the future, just like we want to see every film. But,
exactly.
Back to the Future definitely has a strong horse.
So we have Best Sound, which evolved into Best Sound Mixing. I never liked Best Sound. Such a vague statement.
Very.
Never really.
Very.
It always sounded like a fake award.
Yeah.
And their sound was good.
We won Best Sound. What?
We have Silverado, Lady Hawk, A Chorus Line, Back to the Future, and the winner, Out of Africa.
So yeah, just take the winner down and put Back to the Future there.
When it comes to sound design, Back to the Future fucking kills it.
Yeah, that's part of the whole thing. Yeah.
Sound design and visual effects. This movie is unmatched.
For 85, it's kind of unparalleled for that time.
And that takes us to sound editing, the award that it did win, up against Lady Hawk and Rambo: First Blood Part 2. And
that's great because those are the 2 highest grossing films of the year against Lady Hawk.
I have seen Rambo 2. It's better than most people tend to think it is.
Yeah, I haven't seen it in a long time. I did go through a phase where I kind of watched them all.
Yeah. Caleb made me sit down and watch all 4 Rambo movies.
Rambo.
Before there was a 5th.
Yes.
And I thought 3 of them were good. I thought Rambo 3 was shit. But 1, 2, and 4 are pretty good.
They
bleed. They bleed. I agree.
They get jumbled up there for my old brain.
The first one's in the woods. The second one's in Nam. The third one's...
Yeah. This is the one that's in Nam. Yeah, the 1985. Makes sense.
Or maybe the third one's in Russia. I don't fucking remember. Yeah, you're right. They bleed.
Sylvester Stallone, killing it.
But I'm happy that Back to the Future did take home something, because it should have taken home a lot more. But we'll get to that. So Charles L. Campbell and Robert Rutledge are the two guys who accepted that.
Those are the gentlemen I'm talking about. I even think I texted you. I was like, Charles Campbell and Robert Rutledge. Good for them. This shit show got saved by gentlemen like them. There were a few other folks who won who were cool about it, and I'm mainly talking about the host and just how it moved in that opening bit.
Yeah, that would put a damper. Can you imagine if that happened now?
Well, it would get shut down. Like Twitter would crash. People would fucking the Oscars would get good numbers because people were like, oh, I have to tune in. Like, what the fuck is going on?
They might fucking end the Oscars over that shit.
Yeah, it would crash.
My God. So that takes us to Best Original Screenplay, the 5 films that we decided to focus on for this episode.
Oh boy.
We have The Purple Rose of Cairo, The Official Story, Brazil, Back to the Future, and the winner, Witness.
Hell yeah. Let's start with Woody. So I had seen this one before, but you hadn't.
No.
But it felt very fresh to me. And Woody Allen is certainly someone that we intend on talking about on this show and opening up that can of worms someday. But for now, we're just going to talk about Cairo and the film itself. And I know we both were rocked by the ending.
Yeah.
And that Jeff Daniels ends up, fucking hosing her at the end of the fucking movie and is back on the plane just full of guilt, and like,
you can't wait.
What am I doing?
You can't wait 30 minutes for her to go get her stuff together. You got to book it to Hollywood right now. You fucking asshole.
Yeah.
God.
That's basically
don't drop her a note, nothing. Ugh.
Yeah, that's,
fucking cab fare or something.
Jeff Daniels, Mia Farrow, Danny Aiello, all pretty much like grade A, like almost 10 out of 10 performances from all three of them. And that's what Woody Allen gets out of people, right? He writes these natural stories, these screenplays that you just got to get 2 people in a room, and he's good at that. Just walking down the street, he's good at that. And Purple Rose of Cairo takes this fascinating bit of people who love movies.
Yes.
Getting to experience one of the people they look up to, like living with them, and then eventually being in it. And I thought a lot about, the modern, like La La Land, right? A movie that's definitely flirting with Hollywood and flirting with all of the magic of it. And I kind of adore that. There's a little part of me, in the same way I feel about Back to the Future, there's just this magic around it. And Cairo has it. Purple Rose of Cairo has it. And it's nice to have more and more context about that Chris Farley bit on Saturday Night Live with Jeff Daniels. It's always nice to have more perspective on what Chris Farley's saying.
Very true. And I do love getting to experience more Jeff Daniels. I think he's a fantastic actor.
Underrated.
I haven't seen enough of his work. And Woody Allen also is a guy who's extremely prolific. The guy's done 100 films. And yeah, there's his personal shit. There's the weird, marrying his stepdaughter, weird shit, the possible rape. So we don't, if you've listened to the Filmgazm podcast, if you've heard our Roman Polanski episode, you know that we separate the men from the work, that we try our best to still enjoy these films and separate the personal shit of the guys who made them.
Yeah.
Because otherwise...
Without, like, it's there. We're not going to act like it's not there.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that Chinatown is, if you watch Chinatown, you're some evil person.
Yeah. We're not endorsing what he did.
Yeah.
We're enjoying a product that he created.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, we've had this conversation. It's something where it's like, okay, if you really knew everything about every artist, good luck enjoying art.
If we found out Thomas Edison was a child molester, are we no longer allowed to use electricity?
Light.
So it's, I think there's a line. I think there's a time where you have to just say, there is, like, you don't have to, I don't know. You get it.
Yeah, like the best word is endorse.
Endorse it,
yeah. It's just,
you can hate the man but love the movie. It's possible.
It's a fucking movie, yeah.
And Purple Rose of Cairo, I thought was very enjoyable. I love the idea that the movies we watch are put on for our entertainment, and they can get like screwed up. Like if somebody like left the production, everybody's in the movie is just like, what do we do?
Like stuck in limbo.
That was such a cool idea.
Well, I think one of my favorite moments of that part of is she's there for fourth or fifth time, and that's the initial time when Jeff Daniels looks at her, and you're like, whoa, like he's like not in like a Deadpool. He's breaking the fourth wall, like not in a Deadpool like, hey, look at me. It's like a very like romantic way, and I was just kind of like floored by it, and I don't know, it made me feel some kind of way, some kind of hope, and then just snatched it from me. And that's real. That's honest. That's how like relationships and love, and that's the way the world moves. Like people act on like, impulse a lot and make these decisions that are selfish, and you thought they were your friend, you thought they were this, and that's like that's relatable, right? Forever. Well, always will be. And so I think this movie has a time and place kind of in history, cinematic history, kind of forever.
Well, Woody Allen's whole point was life is ultimately disappointing. And as shitty as that idea is, it's true.
And movies are awesome. Because at the end, she finally smiles again when she finally is just, I'm just going to watch a movie again.
Damn. I was not expecting that to have the gut punch at the end of that. So, damn.
Yeah. No, we both definitely liked that. I think you gave it an 8 on your review.
I did, yes.
I would agree. Solid 8. It's a movie I definitely want to rewatch. Could be a movie we do in the future on this show as the base. And if we talk about Woody Allen again, I'm sure it'll get brought up because it's certainly one of my favorites that I've seen of his work so far.
Sweet. I haven't seen enough of his work to label favorites yet, but yes.
For context, I think I like it a little better than Annie Hall.
Okay.
Yeah. I like Annie Hall. I know that's kind of seen, it's the Oscar winner, the Best Picture winner.
You could say you like it. There's no issues.
No, I like it, but I just Cairo's got that, like you said, that poignancy of, damn, life is usually disappointing and movies are awesome.
Yeah, movies won't leave you.
Let me distract you.
Damn.
That's cinema.
Yeah. It's real, man.
It's incredible stuff.
Next, we have The Official Story.
Oh, boy.
Film that won Best Foreign Film that year for Argentina. It's a story about a teacher struggling to find out the real identity of her adopted daughter's real mother after finding out that she may have been stolen from political prisoners during the Argentinian dictatorship. It's a very dark movie. Very sad. Another ending that's a fucking punch. And I think it's interesting that it was chosen amongst this group because there's a lot of pessimism in this group, and then there's Back to the Future. It's 4 movies that are all about just completely shattered lives, and then Back to the Future.
Yeah, which is hilarious because that's kind of like that kind of describes you and I. I love miserable movies, and
I do too.
The Official Story is for sure my favorite movie we watched this week. It is oh man. You compared it to, what was it, Z and
Philomena.
That was pretty spot on, and we got to cover Z, a few weeks ago, and we both enjoyed that a lot. The Official Story is like Marriage Story on fucking steroids.
Good Lord.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like Marriage Story, Kramer vs. Kramer, A Separation, a little bit of 5 Easy Pieces. Fuck, it is like...
Movies about troubled marriages when there are kids involved are always going to be sad. But this thing was on a whole new level. This was like if your husband was the guy who stole the baby. Because that's the vibe I fucking got.
In the ending. Right?
Yeah.
The ending, the ending is so brutal and such a punch to
when
your
he crushed
senses.
her fingers, I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Obviously, spoiler alert, if I don't... It's on Criterion.
35 years.
I don't think it's on anything else, right?
HBO Max.
This is a deep cut. I don't expect a lot of people to be too hot about the Argentinian film of the group of what we're talking about. But damn, don't take it lightly. Yeah. This is a good movie.
Yeah.
I would give it an 8 as well, but it's so close to a 9, and I will definitely watch it again. I was kind of like flabbergasted by, those stories need to be told, right? And I was flabbergasted by, you pointed out, the father works for the government. The mother's a teacher, and she's fucking naive most of the movie. And her students are the ones who have to kind of the young students who go through life and have to tell her like our country's fucked. Like,
Yeah.
do you realize what the government's doing? Do you realize the government kidnaps children and sells them to rich people? Do you realize this? And you're one of them? Do you realize this? And she doesn't want to confront it because she's a rich person, and we have those kind of people in every culture because of currency and because of capitalism and all these things. And this movie wraps all these things up, and then in the ending is like, sorry, you fucking watched this for 2 hours, that's on you. And I like, for whatever reason, love that feeling. I love the feeling of actually being like stirred at the core to where my stomach almost kind of hurt.
I think what it comes down to for me, and this is just as an outsider looking in, I think you really appreciate humanistic cinema. I think you like stories about real people.
Yeah. And Five Easy Pieces, right, was a great
Yeah.
example of like that's such a big thing coming into American cinema, independent, and doing these just normal stories.
And in real life, that kind of shit in that kind of environment happens.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's kind of why, for context, comparing it to Marriage Story, a film that was very popular last year that is about relationship and finding out stuff about the other person while there's a child involved. And this one's, I say it's on steroids because this child is adopted illegally. And she's 5, Gabby, she's 5?
5, yeah.
And this little girl's the cutest little thing, and I don't know.
Her father's a goddamn monster.
Yeah, and I really, if we've gone too far talking about it, I just hope someone listening watches it. I really do.
Yeah.
I think it's one of those movies, like, the right person catches it, they could be like, whoa, storytelling.
And I never would have watched this if we hadn't decided to do this.
Exactly. And when we decided to do the screenplay group, I was like, oh, an Argentinian movie. Like, that's kind of like that's different.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good segue into fucking Brazil.
Brazil!
Another movie that is hopeless.
God damn.
And such a sad ending. And I can't wait to watch it again because I think this movie, and you can speak to it now, I think it's very impactful on a second watch.
Yes, this was my second watch. This movie is Monty Python's 1984. And it's just the most fucked up society you could imagine, where if the government makes a mistake, they will literally arrest and execute anybody who knows about it because they need to be infallible or else it doesn't work. And Jonathan Pryce is the poor son of a bitch who notices the mistake and has his entire life taken away from him because of that. His best friend literally lobotomizes him. It's the most fucked up shit. But it's so funny because it's Terry Gilliam and it's Jonathan Pryce and it's Michael Palin and it's Robert De Niro. And it's just such a well done film.
Man.
It's so weird, but it's so good. And the second viewing is quintessential.
Yeah, I can't wait. Gilliam does that. He does that. Yeah. Well, he likes to fuck with. I mean, his sets are a dream. I would kill to be on one of his sets. Like it is glorious. The colors he's using, the vibrancy, the attention to detail of every little thing, and his ability to just he just doesn't care. He just doesn't care what people think. The camera is going to move in a weird fashion, and I buy in. I definitely need to see it again. But I highly recommend it. I'd give it an 8. I'd give it an 8 off that first viewing where there were times where I was a little confused. I mean, I gathered, especially at the ending. Oh, okay, wow.
Oh yeah, the first viewing is really confusing.
Yes, and the ending explains a bit, and I went back and read a little, and I was like, oh, okay, but I can't wait to watch it again, knowing all that stuff.
They had to do a separate ending for the Americans where it's happy because we were not willing to accept such a hopeless ending.
So Brazil, dystopian film, and you have Jonathan Pryce, spectacular performance.
I love Jonathan Pryce.
Yeah, right, and he's great. It's so cool that he's still like just so relevant now.
He just
so
got an Oscar nomination last year.
Exactly,
for the Two Popes.
He'll stay around, and he's in this world again. Terry Gilliam sets up these just incredible, the production design, the sets. It's all incredible, and he's setting up this character Jonathan Pryce to be in this world where you really won't know if anything really is happening or if it's a dream world.
Yeah.
And as you find out, you're like, oh my god, this is like how the society works. These like shitty machines, weird. Robert De Niro, for him to do this and at this point in his career is so cool. And I respect the hell out of it. Because he clearly read the script and was like, fuck yeah. Like, that sounds wacky, you know? And that's so cool. That's so cool.
Yeah. Harry Tuttle. Like
Tuttle, yeah. Call me, what does he say? Call me Tuttle, yeah. Or does he say
his name's Archibald Tuttle, but he's like, my friends call me Harry.
Yeah.
He's the guy the government's on the hunt for because he's
Yes.
illegally servicing heat machines.
His outfit, I can't even just Google it. I can't describe it. His outfit is awesome. It's hilarious. He looks like a fucking mole, like just running around. It reminded me a lot of Delicatessen, and I know that movie has influenced Gilliam a lot with the production design, how wacky and dreamlike it is. It's awesome.
It's fantastic. The whole thing starts because a fly falls in the typing machine and accidentally misprints the name Tuttle to Buttle.
Yeah.
And that just causes a snowball effect that fucks up Jonathan Pryce's whole life. It's wild and unforgivable. And it's so hopeless. But Gilliam makes it just funny enough so you don't hate yourself.
It's extremely British. It's extremely British. The dry humor, and it's hammering it away.
I loved when Bob Hoskins shows up to service the place and De Niro's in there with a gun and Price is like, did you bring the appropriate paperwork?
Yeah.
And Hoskins is like, how dare you? No, I didn't, but I fucking will. And he just takes off and then shows up later with the paperwork and it's completely dismantled his house. Like now it's personal.
So good.
Goddamn, I love Bob Hoskins.
Me too.
Just seeing him, oh God.
I definitely recommend that one.
Yeah.
It is one of those weird gems from the 80s that I just haven't heard a lot about. And when I was telling people about it, like, oh, I'm going to watch Brazil for this week, and what? Who made that? And you're like, Terry Gilliam, the guy who made Fear and Loathing.
Yeah.
That's what I have to tell my buddies because that's how they know. That's how they know Terry. They don't know him like we know him. You know, with Don Quixote.
Yeah. The American Python.
Oh man.
It's a weird movie, but it is a great watch if you are ready for that kind of thing. Because it's a movie you kind of have to prepare yourself for.
Yeah, for sure. It's not just something you throw on, and it is like it's like 2 hours and 15 minutes. It's not like it's not a little walk in the park. No.
No. And I believe that takes us to our winner of the night, Witness.
Which is the worst movie of this group?
That's tough to call because I like them all.
I like it, but I think all the other ones are like good.
Witness is good, but I agree it is dull at times.
Yeah, which makes it interesting that it won Screenplay, right?
Oh, it should not have won at all. No. But it is a good movie. It's Harrison Ford's only Oscar nomination in his career.
Which is so bizarre.
Directed by Peter Weir, one of my favorite filmmakers who gave us Dead Poets Society and The Truman Show. And it's a movie about a cop who is sent to Amish country to protect a young boy who's a witness to a murder. And just how deep this murder goes. It's the whole fucking police department's in on it. And while in Amish country, John Book, as he's known, learns to appreciate this culture, falls in love with the boy's mother, Rachel, but their worlds are way too separate. It'll never work. And I do like that they did that. They didn't just make it like, she goes and lives with him or he stays in Amish country.
Yeah.
That's not how it would go down.
Exactly.
She's committed to her culture and he's a cop. It would never work. But it does have some lulls. That movie does follow, it is pretty dull at times.
It drags a bit, and but it is always nice to watch. I mean, Harrison Ford in the 80s is about as big as it can get.
Oh yeah,
for like a movie star.
And this was his first leading man role that was not a sci-fi fantasy film. Because at the time he was pretty much just a niche guy. He'd done Star Wars, Indiana Jones, and Blade Runner, so nobody really knew if he could tackle heavy material.
Yes.
So this was the film that showed everybody that Harrison Ford was not a one-trick pony. He could do whatever he wanted to do.
Yeah.
And he is great in this.
Yeah, he's wonderful. He is. And that's worth it. And I don't think it doesn't belong, but winning, it shouldn't have won.
No, Back to the Future should have won. But that's just, my...
I'd say the official story, but Back to the Future makes the most sense as far as, hey, this is applicable to pretty much everybody.
It's such a great
official story. Come on. Like, some people just simply don't want to digest that, which sucks, but that's just the case.
It did win foreign film, so official story did walk home with something.
Yes. And obviously that's a movie that I would be open to doing one day for 1985 and just highlighting the foreign language films.
Oh, yeah. We certainly will be doing that a lot in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah, Back to the Future took home 1 award, has an IMDb score of 8.5, Rotten Tomatoes score of 96%, grossed 388 million on a budget of 19 million. It was a huge hit. Spawned 2 sequels, an animated series, and a theme park ride.
Unbelievable.
Which I was unable to go to. I went to Universal Studios the year after they closed the Back to the Future ride. I was so upset.
Jeez.
It is now the Simpsons ride.
Hey, I like The Simpsons too, but yeah, that sucks.
But I did get to, they have the DeLorean and the time train from part 3 on display there, and I got to touch them.
Oh, there you go.
And that was a surreal moment.
Was that one of those? Was that one of those things where you're like, I'm not gonna wash my hand for a few days?
No, but I did have a moment of like, I am touching history. It was amazing to me. It felt weird.
Me and Doc are one. Yeah.
Like I could see the flux capacitor with my own eyes. I was losing
Flexing.
Did you get like super fucking tense when the car just stopped?
Of course.
At the clock tower scene where he's just like, no, not this time.
No.
The fucking DeLorean used to just do that. It would just cut out. It was such a shitty car.
Just a piece of shit.
It was such a terrible car.
That's just how it is.
American engineering right there.
I make the American... Jesus. I love that.
You can thank this movie for DeLorean sales to this day.
Yes.
Nobody wanted a fucking DeLorean until this movie came out. Then everybody wanted a DeLorean.
Yeah, so now it's like a prized possession.
Yeah, if I ever, if I had disposable income like that, I would absolutely own a DeLorean. I would learn to drive stick just so I could drive a DeLorean.
Hell yeah.
And I would never drive it under 90.
Yeah, of course not.
Just in case. I got the good one.
Just in case.
Oh boy.
88.
Oh, beautiful. Back to the Future. Okay. How are we gonna do this?
Yeah, we have the categories, and that's how we're gonna keep it moving. And I like the 4 we have. It's clean. It leaves potential for multiple nominations from one of us. And this movie is special. It's your favorite movie of all time, so we're gonna be fairly lenient. And I think I think it only makes sense that I would start so you can finish. And that that would be best line. Would be the first one. So I'll give you mine, and it involves our boy Christopher Lloyd.
Yes.
Oh my God, they found me! I don't know how, but they found me. Run for it, Morty. Run for it, Morty. I almost said Morty, just like Rick and Morty. I really did. I do get them confused. Just the way they look is like, oh, this is too similar.
That's intentional.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Of course. that line, along with everything that's happening in that moment, where it doesn't know what genre it is, which is the most beautiful thing about it, and it doesn't care. And him saying that, like, he doesn't care. Christopher Lloyd in those moments does not care what genre it is. It's Back to the Future. And sure, you could pick. Sure, I could pick. There's a lot of lines you can pick from this movie, but I was trying to find what wraps it up for me, and I feel like that wrapped it up mainly in that moment, and Christopher Lloyd's face and how fucking bought in he is.
Oh yeah,
and that's why I chose it. I'm really curious to hear. Did you choose one or
I have 3?
You have 3.
I have 3.
Let's fucking hear them. Do you have them ranked?
Not really. They're just
just 3 favorites.
3 favorites.
Let's hear them.
Well, prior to, I want to talk a bit about that scene.
Yeah, of course, of course.
It's very much out of nowhere, suddenly a completely different movie.
Yeah.
It's terrifying. These terrorists show up out of nowhere and kill Doc for stealing their plutonium and ripping them off. And at the end of the movie, the terrorists crash into the photo booth box, but they're not dead. Like, they're part of a cell.
Yeah.
Like, they're going to find out about Marty. They're going to kill his entire family. Like, this isn't over.
Exactly.
And I think about that a lot when I see this movie.
For sure.
So, my first favorite line comes from Mr. Biff Tannen.
Oh, yes.
The best bully in movie history. The most, just such a perfect asshole.
And this is, what's that actor's name?
Tom Wilson.
Tom Wilson. This is the coach from Freaks and Geeks. For all you Freaks and Geeks fans. Have you ever seen that show?
No, I've not.
Oh, Lord. You're gonna be in heaven. Yeah, he's the PE coach. Yeah, because he hasn't played dodgeball all the time. Yeah.
Also, Hank Haywood for you Legend of Tomorrow fans out there.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
And he also did a stand-up special 10 years ago And he did a song about all the questions he gets asked about Back to the Future.
Oh God.
And he was actually really, really funny. My aunt's friend ran into him at the mall once and took a picture. And apparently he's super nice.
Yeah, that's great.
Tom Wilson.
He's not like Biff.
No, and in fact, he really hates when people call him Biff, because Biff's such a prick. But my line comes from, it's one of the most famous lines of the movie, and he says it in all three, but my favorite bit is in part 2, and I'll get to that. Biff is assaulting Lorraine openly in the cafeteria. Nobody's doing anything about it.
Yeah.
Marty walks up to him and is like, hey, get your meat hooks. And he's like, oh shit, this guy's 8 feet tall. And backs off. And Biff's like, are you kidding me? Who the fuck do you think you are? And picks a fight and says he's going to cut Marty a break. And he says, quote, why don't you make like a tree and get out of here? Such an idiot. Obviously, the real phrase that makes sense is make like a tree and leave.
Leave, yes. Yeah. And get out of here.
In part 2, Biff says that to his older self, and older Biff punches him in the head and goes, it's leave, you idiot.
Leave, like trees.
Just like on the back of the head. It's such a great slap. But that was one of my favorites because it just showed.
I mean, it's been. I don't. Some people might not know the origins. I think that's good that you picked that one because that is it.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Of people making that joke. Yeah.
My second one comes from at the dance after Biff's goons lock Marty in the back of Marvin Berry's car. And they come out and they're like, hey, what the hell are you doing in my car? And they throw out a racial slur.
Yes.
And then they all come out and they're like, who you calling that, Peckerwood?
Yeah, Peckerwood.
And the guy says, whoa, look, man, I don't want to mess with no reefer addicts, okay? And then they chase him down. I love that line so much.
Oh, man, I don't want to mess around with any reefer addicts. Yeah, this is the 50s, yeah. These people are scared of, like, beatniks and black people because they smoke weed, yeah.
I love that.
It's hilarious.
Look, guys, I don't want to...
I laugh pretty hard on that, yeah. The dork's good. The life vest one is pretty great, too. So funny.
It's beautiful.
The time thing, yeah.
Another one I didn't put here, but I love is when Marty gets knocked. He gets hit by the car, and Lorraine's dad yells, "Stella! Another one of these damn kids jumped in front of my car. How many kids has this guy run over? Another one. Like this is like the 4th or 5th time.
Happens all the time. And what is it called? The Leon Estates? Is that the
Lion Estates?
Lion
Yeah.
Estates. Yeah, it happens all the time. Yeah.
Goddamn. So my all-time favorite line is, I guess they were kind of ranked. It's when Marty first shows up in 55 and crashes into the Peabody farm.
Mm-hmm.
And they immediately assume Marty's an alien.
I love that.
And they freak the fuck out.
Well, it doesn't help the radiation suit.
Oh no, yeah. But the kid, like as Peabody starts shooting him with a shotgun, the kid goes, he's already mutated into human form. And Peabody yells, my favorite line of the movie, take that, you mutated son of a bitch. And shoots him again.
Well, it's these people that have obviously seen too many movies in the 80s, or in the 50s, and they have no idea what they're talking about. You mutated son of...
And
you
then
mutated too quick. Their reference is a few Hitchcock movies. Yeah.
And then Marty runs over one of the guy's pine trees and he's like, you space bastard, you killed my pine. And I don't know if you noticed this, but at the end of the movie, when Marty goes back, Twin Pines Mall is now called Lone Pine Mall. Because Marty killed one of the pine trees.
I like that. That's a nice touch.
That attention to detail is throughout the franchise. It's beautiful.
That's a nice touch. I love that. God damn. What a great group. I'm sure there's some that you could probably make a top 20.
I could easily.
List. Yeah. That brings us to best music moment though. And we talked about this is some of the Oscar glory that it did get a nomination for music, but I'm not going to choose Power of Love or any of those typical ones. I actually found the light bit of music playing when he first gets to the 50s.
Oh, good choice.
Mr. Sandman,
bring me a dream.
I thought that was wonderful because that attention to detail of knowing what would be playing on the radio in 1955, that's important. It's important as the movie ages for people to really believe it, for it to age well. And it does. It does. You feel like you're in the 50s, Ice Cream Parlor and just the way the town looks is like, oh man, I love those little details, and I already love that song. It's really creepy if you look at it a certain way, and yeah, I thought that was another brilliant touch.
That's a great choice. Well done.
Yeah, it's
Mr. Sandman was an excellent choice to show his arrival into a completely new world.
exactly, and those are the cues, right? Those are the cues that give you, oh, we're really here, and for him, if he's really paying attention, he's like, oh, wait a minute. This music's not popular in 1985. Like, it took another 40 years for that song to get popular.
I love how Marty's just kind of like a little, like disconcerted, kind of like disoriented. That's the word I'm looking for. Just like, did this really happen? Am I really in the 50s?
Yeah.
He goes to the cafe and he tries to get a tab, and the guy's like, I can't give you a tab unless you order something. I love that.
the little differences, over 3 decades. Well, just the Lion Estates, how it's like the future of tomorrow. Or
yeah, it's not even built yet.
Yeah,
wild,
incredible. And then when he's biking at the beginning, or skateboarding at the beginning of the film, I believe, when he goes into Lion Estates, it's just trashed.
Oh yeah,
and looks like this, just run down. That's a rough 30 years. If it got to that in 30 years, damn.
Well, I
don't want to see it now.
In the grand scheme of things, like we always see the town square in a different light in all 3 movies, because we get to see 80s town square in this one, 50s town square. Part 2, we get to see 2015 town square and alternate evil 1985 town square, and then in part 3 we get to see Old West town square, and it's always different, but it's always a little bit the same, because like Lou's Cafe in the 50s is Lou's Gym in the 80s, it's Cafe 80s in 2015, and it's Lou's Tavern in the Old West, and I just love that continuing thread of all 3 of these movies. You can tell the same people were behind it. The same people loved it. They had, something they were building.
That continuity.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. And those cues are what it's all about. Of like you said, bringing you into the same city without just like hitting you in the face with it. It's touches. Yeah,
it is nice. My favorite music moment is pretty on the nose, pretty expected, but it's when Marty plays Johnny Be Good at the dance.
Totally fair.
It's fantastic. It's such a great scene. It's introducing rock and roll to these kids. I love when Marvin Berry calls his cousin Chuck and is like, you know that sound you've been looking for? It's such a great touch.
You know that sound you've been looking for?
And then when Marty goes a little too crazy, starts breaking into some heavy metal riffs, and everyone's just looking at him like, what's wrong with you?
Hell?
And we get that epic line, you guys aren't ready for that yet, but your kids are going to love it.
Oh,
beautiful.
But your kids are going to love it.
So Michael J. Fox is playing the guitar in that scene, but he is not singing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's fair. Mm-hmm. At least he's playing the guitar.
And he did do all his skateboard work himself, too.
I have read that, which is great. And, obviously he's a guy who can play a little bit of basketball, too, so he's...
I have not seen Teen Wolf yet.
He's an athlete,
but I do want to.
You will one day, of course.
I know.
We'll get it from the book or over on Filmgazm or,
Teen Wolf.
Whatever it may be. That's great. Well, those are... I like that. They kind of describe, like, your adoration for the film. You can't deny the Johnny Be Good moment.
Oh, it's beautiful.
And I was trying to find us...
But Alan Silvestri's score is so incredible.
Oh, my God. The chase at the beginning of the film?
Yeah.
Best performance. For me, and you know how big of a fan I am of Christopher Lloyd. It's not very difficult for me to choose him, to choose Doc. The 10-year jaunt that he had in between One Flew the Cuckoo's Nest, as sometimes my favorite character of that whole book and movie. Peculiar. What does this word mean? Ha ha ha. Yeah. I love him. I really do love him. He understands it. He understands what we weirdos want out of character actors. He knows what we want.
That is true.
And the guy, fascinating. If you look on his IMDb, didn't click until he was in his late 30s, into his 40s, into his 50s. But this film, this role, is one of those that will live on for eternity. It's kind of cemented in time. For kind of forever.
I also picked Christopher Lloyd.
Yes.
Doc Brown is one of the greatest movie characters of all time. He's weird, he's eccentric, he's bizarre, but his heart is always in the right place. And he loves Marty like a son. And I love their relationship. It's so great. 30 years, Marty goes 30 years in the past, and that Doc is willing to do anything it takes to get him home. He's such a great character. And God. And his journey throughout all three films is beautiful.
Well, and he's got the mystery of what else has this guy done? You know, why is he so confident in some of these moments? Like, what kind of life have you lived? You know, and it just makes you wonder, right? He's one of those guys. You point out that he very well may be, you know, one of the greatest like American characters of all time to hit the big screen, right? He's timeless. He's affecting cartoons now.
He's the quintessential mad scientist.
Yeah, and he's great, and that leads me perfectly into my best scene, my favorite scene, best scene, all the above. Is when he gets shot. Is the music starts kind of kicking into gear, and there's Libyan terrorist in a pickup truck.
No, VW van.
Oh, you're right. It is a van. He's up on the top, which was silly, and then he, you know, loses ammo.
Yep.
Which is funny.
Gun jams.
Go. That part is epic. Oh yeah, he has the 4x4 truck at the end. Duh.
Yeah.
That truck's kind of cool. I'm not gonna lie.
It is a nice truck.
It's a nice little black truck. That scene when he gets shot and you think he's dead. And I think about, you know, the first time you watch this, and for anyone who does get to experience this for the first time, this devastating blow. But is the wheel of the movie. Of it's forcing Marty McFly to make decisions and to start doing stuff. And it was breathtaking. It's like you point out, it's scary. These terrorists are just out of nowhere because he stole plutonium. Fuck yeah, you can't steal plutonium, bro. You can't do that shit. And it's amazing because we have no idea how he actually got this plutonium. Like, well, I would love to see that on camera, but no. I love that we're just brought here into this moment with Doc, just like, and that's when he's like, oh shit, you know, they're here. Like, I don't know how, but they're here. And all that whole bit to me is the best part of the movie. It's early, sure, but it's the best part of the movie, and it gets it going. It really moves it into this high gear where you're like, oh my god, don't leave here, you know, don't leave here. And it certainly gets back to there at a couple points. I adore that like 5 to 10 minute stretch of when they initially are when Marty finds out, oh my god, you have a time machine, you know, that whole, you know, you built a time machine out of a DeLorean. Like, that part is epic, leading up into him getting shot, and then Marty deciding, I gotta do something, and then he goes to 1955.
Well, in that moment,
that's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah. In
that's
that moment,
a great
like,
script.
He's not thinking of the DeLorean as a time machine. He's thinking this is a car, and I need to get the fuck out of here.
And then he starts going fast,
and he ends up going 90 and run. Yeah.
And of course, we know if you get up to 88, some serious shit's gonna go down. So,
in that moment, though, in that scene, I think Michael J. Fox does his best work in that scene, where he has to, like, there's a moment there where Marty accepts death. And he closes his eyes and is like, this is it.
Like he's in war.
Yeah. Like, fuck, man.
Yeah, and he's 17.
God damn.
So yeah, to me it's like epic. It's like an epic moment. And I'm not saying the movie drags. I'm not saying that at all. But I don't think it meets, and it's not trying to. It doesn't need to. It already did it. I just don't think it meets that, like, whoa, like, that you get out of that moment. And then with the car, when it actually goes, when he's actually time traveling, boom, in the fire. Yeah, damn, that shit's cool.
My favorite thing about this movie is how well Zemeckis and Gale set everything up.
It looks awesome.
Well, in the beginning, you see the news report of a case of missing plutonium that has been stolen, and then
the skateboard
hitting the thing. Later on, you find out, you know, Strickland talks about Marty's father being a slacker.
Yeah.
I love that. I scream that at people.
Is he always bald? Yeah.
I scream that at people all the time. Like, people I know, just like, slacker. It's such a weird insult.
Another one of my favorite movies of all time, Slacker.
And then later, you know, we hear about Marty's parents' first meeting from just natural conversation, Doc and the Libyans. It all just comes out naturally and has great payoff later on in the movie. It's so smart.
100%.
Such a smartly written screenplay. So, did you just have the one?
I stuck with one.
I have 3 again.
No, go for it. I anticipated it.
My first scene is a tribute to Mr. Eddie Van Halen, who passed away last week due to throat cancer. He performed a special bit of music for when Marty disguises himself as, quote, Darth Vader to blackmail and threaten his father into asking Lorraine out to the dance.
Yeah.
He puts a Van Halen tape into the Walkman, puts headphones on George, and blasts it like it's a torture device, and it's brilliant. And George is terrified. And
So good.
Marty is wearing the radiation suit, introduces himself as Darth Vader from the planet Vulcan. It's fucking brilliant.
Planet Vulcan.
And it would, heavy metal to somebody in the 50s sounds like torture. It makes sense. It's perfect.
Yes. I do not want to go through that.
Oh, so rest in peace, Mr. Van Halen, and thank you for that little contribution to this movie.
Yeah. Again, the touches. The touches.
And I always think that sci-fi nerd George McFly is going to go see Star Wars in 1977.
Oh my God.
And when he hears the name Darth Vader, he's going to have a full-blown PTSD panic attack.
Yes.
So I think about that a lot too. Just, I asked her out. I promised.
Shit.
It's freaking out.
Don't take me to Vulcan.
Oh my God. You picked up on the novel that he wrote at the end is his story, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, it took 20 years for me to make that connection. I know.
There's a lot going on. There's a lot going on.
My second scene is a scene that still just makes me so happy is when George finally beats the fuck out of Biff. Just knocks him out with one punch.
The hit, yeah.
It's such a great scene.
The legendary punch when he's like fucking raping her.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
About to. He's trying to. He's obviously
He's
trying.
going to.
And
Yeah, for sure.
And he's like and that commitment from him to be like leave and walk away. and he's like, no. Like,
yeah.
He's like, no, get your fucking hands off of her, And that's that, like, yeah, being a dad of a girl and like just fucking caring about humans. That if that shit doesn't,
I know, right?
Get your heart going and wants you to like beat the fucking shit out of him.
That whole bit from George opening the door and realizing, oh shit, it's Biff, and he's just like, oh, he has that deflation, but then he sees what's happening, and he knows
it gives him enough.
He can't walk away from this. He knows that she might die tonight if he doesn't walk away.
Which is worth getting beat up.
Yeah,
it's worth getting beat up if a girl can escape a horrible situation.
This whole movie is entirely about confidence. Everybody. For sure. Doc's confidence to build something that works. Marty's confidence to embrace who he is and play the school band. But George's confidence to ask Lorraine out and be his own man. It's all about confidence. Yeah. And to have those cathartic moments of just, fuck it, I'm taking the leap. It's so satisfying and it feels so good.
Ah, man. Yeah, it does. Participating, being a part of the show, like joining in, helping.
And then later on, when the redhead kid tries to steal Lorraine, and George's like, "Excuse me," and just knocks his ass down.
I love that part. Yeah.
That kid,
I'm butting in. Yeah.
That kid was in The Burbs.
Oh yeah,
Hans.
Oh my God. Yeah, that makes yeah.
Hey Pinocchio,
3 years
where
later.
are you going?
3 years later. God, The Burbs. Oh,
perfect.
A Filmgazm classic. We love The Burbs.
We do.
1989.
We love The Burbs.
Gem.
But yeah, that moment from George opening the car door to the kiss is perfect. But it's not my favorite scene. That's my buildup.
Oh boy.
My all-time favorite scene, and this will never change, it may be my favorite movie scene of all time, is the final climax at the clock tower.
Figured.
Everything that goes into Marty finally getting Back to the Future. Because everything goes wrong. And there's so many little moments that could have get fucked up.
Yes.
And it would have ruined everything.
But he just stays positive.
But Doc pulls it off. And that like cheerful running through the streets. And he's like, it worked.
Yeah.
It's so satisfying.
Yeah. Well, yeah, when a person that deserves, and a couple people in this case, deserve to get rewarded, it's satisfying. Especially in this way. We need to get you a giant ass poster of him hanging off the clock tower. You just need like a wall size, like 10 feet by 10 feet.
I have owned so many Back to the Future posters.
God damn. Of Doc hanging off. Yeah, it's a brilliant scene. I considered choosing it for sure. I figured you'd have that. Yeah. It's an amazing scene.
Oh, fantastic. Back to the Future. Amazing film. If you haven't seen it, I don't know what you're doing with your life. But
yeah, get off your ass and do yourself.
Get your shit together. It's on Netflix right now.
Or get on your ass and watch it, yeah. Well, and know that we're not done with this one. We're gonna revisit 2 and 3 maybe on Filmgazm, or we'll do them in some fashion because it's clearly very important here at Filmgazm and here for our creator Connor. So,
Woo!
I had an awesome time, and
This felt good.
I'm sure, and when you really boil it down, it sounds like we were both positively impacted by our most recent watch of it. And what the fuck more could you ask from cinema?
Yeah, fantastic. That's what it's all about. We learned that from the Purple Rose of Cairo. Movies are escapism. Movies make you feel good. Movies make you embrace storytelling. And you can't ask for more than that from this film. It's perfect.
100%. And even in the case of a movie like The Official Story that is tough, those movies can make you feel good too, in the way that it makes you feel good in your own skin of, I'm learning.
Yeah.
I'm digesting a story, and I'm trying to get some perspective. And sometimes that's what needs to be done with movies.
Yeah.
And what's great about Back to the Future is it does all those things. Makes you feel good, teaches you some shit, makes you laugh, uses the word shit really well. Always hold on to that. And it has a killer soundtrack, killer score, all these things, right? These are things we think of when we think of American cinema. And it hits on all cylinders. And for that reason, it's a classic. I know you give it a 10 out of 10. It's hard to. It's one of those that you're like, how do you even rate it?
Yeah.
It's one of those. but for what it's worth, I give it a solid 8, and I will obviously revisit it. And I'm hyped to watch the second and third one. Like, I'll probably watch them just in my own time because I don't want to wait.
Yeah, me too.
For the show to do that for me. And again, it's been a while since I've seen all three of them, together. So the 80s, Jesus Christ. I can't wait till we revisit the 80s again on this show. It's always going to be fun when we're in this decade. It's always going to be fun.
It's my jam. And with that, let's talk about what happened this week in film.
Yes, sir.
Get this. Gal Gadot and Patty Jenkins are going to be making a Cleopatra film.
Oh, wow.
And a lot of people are pissed because Gal Gadot is white.
Yes.
Not realizing she's actually Israeli. So
yeah.
maybe cut her some slack.
Yeah.
And
goddamn break.
Yeah, I'm excited. I have not seen the original not the original, but like the second Cleopatra with Liz Taylor and Dick Burton. But, I'm learning more about Dick Burton. Like, comfortable enough that I can call him Dick, just like Scrooged.
Yeah, well over on Filmgazm, we call Stephen King Steve, so we've gotten way too comfortable with just talking about all these people.
Every time I watch Scrooged, like, anytime I watch something with Richard Burton, I just think of that scene in Scrooged where Herman, the homeless guy, walks up to Bill Murray, thinks he's Richard Burton, and just like, hi, Dick. It's like, after Exorcist 2, I thought we had something special, so.
Hey, Dick. Jesus.
They are finally ramping up production on the Mad Max Fury Road prequel Furiosa.
Okay.
They cast Anya Taylor-Joy as a young Furiosa, and Chris Hemsworth and Yahya Abdul-Mateen II have joined the cast.
Cool.
George Miller is behind it.
Yeah.
So here's hoping this will be pretty cool.
Yeah, that's exciting. That's a movie that has aged very well.
Oh my God.
It's 5 years old now only, and it just...
Fury Road is a fucking adventure.
A movie that, we say this a lot, but could just fit on either podcast so well.
Oh, yeah. My favorite part about that Oscars was seeing all those like crazy Aussies show up to accept their technical awards with like jean jackets and shit.
Yeah. Fucking badasses, yeah.
Oh, boy. They have dropped the first trailer for Monster Hunter, a Paul W.S. Anderson production with Mila Jovovich, starring based on the popular video game. And I have not watched the trailer because I don't really care. Yeah. But, I have to tell you about it. And that is the extent of my involvement in Monster Hunter.
Yeah, no comment.
MGM has announced they're developing a biopic on legendary Rat Pack musician Sammy Davis Jr. So that could be very interesting.
Okay.
I wonder how they're going to cover that. Talk about the whole Rat Pack or just Sammy, because I know that Sinatra's estate will not let them make a legit movie about him because they still refuse to admit his mob involvement. Even though we all fucking know.
Yeah, like, come on.
It's not like his legacy is going to be tainted. We all think that already anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
And then finally, I'm sorry to end on a sad note, but Margaret Noland has died at 76. She's known as the gold-painted model in the title sequence of Goldfinger. And she also played the, clearly for me, the most misogynist scene in Bond history, the character of Dink, the girl giving Bond a massage at the beginning of Goldfinger, and then when Leiter shows up, Bond tells Dink to go away because it's man talk time and slaps her ass on the way out. The most heavily misogynistic scene in the entire franchise. But
Oh my god.
yeah, rest in peace, Margaret Nolan. Goddamn.
Margaret.
Simpler times when Bond could just rape lesbians and get away with it.
Yeah. Simpler times when Robin Williams could make fun of all demographics at the Oscars.
Have you seen Goldfinger lately?
No.
Because there is a scene where he literally like rapes Pussy Galore into being straight.
That sentence.
I know. The name alone should tip you off that this is not
into being straight.
This is not the most progressive film. I can't wait to do Goldfinger at some point. There's a lot to unpack with that movie.
A lot. That's a heavy one. Jesus, man.
Good Lord.
Next week will be heavy. On this show, we're going back to the 50s. The only other time we've done that on this show is on the waterfront. We're going back to the 50s for 12 Angry Men.
All right.
1957 is up for a heap of awards. We're going to be focusing on the Best Picture winners, so I'll go ahead and read those off now. That would be Witness for the Prosecution, Sayonara, Peyton Place, 12 Angry Men, and the winner was The Bridge on the River Kwai.
Woo!
So we're going to try our best to watch as many of those as we can. I guarantee we'll get 12 Angry Men and The Bridge. The others, we'll see what we can do, and we'll come back next week and have some fun with a movie that, an era that we have not talked a lot about.
Yeah.
And a movie that is certainly looked at as a powerhouse male movie.
Yeah,
with some just heavy ass performances, and excited to talk about Fonda and company. I'm excited.
True classic one I have not seen yet. Very excited too. I think this is our first courtroom drama.
Yeah, in First Sydney. Yeah.
Sidney Lumet.
So we're tackling a big time director here, doing courtroom drama. Obviously, if you're listening to this, maybe you watched Trial of the Chicago 7. Courtroom dramas are.
Oh, they're great.
They're great, and they do really well with the Oscars if they're made correctly. And so we're gonna have some fun. We're gonna have some fun with this one next week. Come on back, and it's just gonna keep getting better and better.
Absolutely.
What are we doing on Filmgazm this week?
This week we have Fright Night for Wednesday.
One of your favorite vampire movie?
85. It's a good year, folks. And that was we planned that one. That's not from the book. It's we wanted to do some special ones for October.
Yeah.
And Fright Night came up, and it's going to be just a blast getting to talk about that one, too.
Yeah, it's on Wednesday. Yeah.
And we'll see you next Sunday. Thanks for listening.
Peace.